name is Vusi Mabena. I am the Executive Secretary of MIASA, responsible for managing all MIASA affairs. When you look at the objective of MIASA, MIASA is a Mining Industry Association of Southern Africa. It is an association of chambers of mines, of 11 chambers of mines in the SADC region. Now, you know that the Chamber of Mines mostly is private sector, representing the interest of private sector at each country level. However, the MIASA saw the need in terms of its members, that is the Chambers of Mines, to come together to share leading practices as to what each one is doing in its country, but also to share the challenges that they are facing and how they are dealing with it. One of the biggest challenges or objectives of MIASA is to ensure that there's harmonization of policies in the region, just to make sure that there is some kind of standard that we are applying across all regions, across all countries within the region, for the purpose of all attracting investors on an equal basis, so that you don't have one member running away with investors and all the other member states around it are actually suffering. But what makes that to work? What makes that to work is that we have policy environment that will encourage investors to come into our countries. So one of our objectives is to request our governments to look at how they compare with one another, to look to see that yes, each country remains unique, but we don't have such vast differences on policies that will actually attract or disadvantage or make it difficult for investors to come across. So it's policy harmonization, it's we share leading practices. It's promotion of investors, okay, that makes us to come together as the association. That is what we try to do. There are other objectives, but I think those are internal objectives that we deal with. What we're dealing with now is we're looking at critical minerals, if you want us to go to that, on critical minerals, and we are saying, how does private sector contribute towards mining industry-based industrialization? That is what we're dealing with now. Let me start with a little bit of a challenge. Remember that the critical minerals came in to transition from fossil fuels and to come up with alternative, because we're dealing with climate change issues. We had critical minerals, but they were not really in the agenda, both by governments and by the private sector, because there was no demand for them. All of a sudden, because of climate change and alternative energy, everybody is clamoring for critical minerals. And now, what is happening is that each country was not even at the exploration stage. Those who hit critical minerals hit them by default. And they found governments unaware on how to deal with policies related to critical minerals. So you can easily say, what we are doing in the mining industry is still at a seriously developmental stage, if you like, where most of the industry is actually on prospecting, with very few of our member states on development stage, and actual production is still much lower as to compare to what the potential is for the region. However, we believe that in the next 4 to 5 years, the industry will be producing so much critical minerals. But we are aware, though, that Europe, West, and the East are clamoring, and we are working hard to say, how do we seize the opportunity to make sure that we invest so that we can participate with both comparative countries that are producing critical minerals, but also we are coming in at a competitive level so that the investors can be attracted to our minerals. So in 5 years, we are hoping that our production levels across the region, I wouldn't like to quote per country, across the region, we would be playing a major role in the provision of raw critical minerals. However, in 5 years, what we would like to see, we would like to see a much better development in terms of value addition and value creation, so that we can grow jobs, because in our countries, we are suffering with high levels of unemployment, and it is not in mining that employment is going to grow. It is actually in value creation, in value addition, where then we work together with governments to make sure that we create jobs, we get investment for manufacturing, we get investment for beneficiation, so that our countries don't just produce raw materials, but they actually produce manufactured goods from minerals that are needed for alternative energy. Southern Africa has most of them, if you think of it. Manganese. South Africa has got manganese, okay? Zambia is developing manganese in a big way, okay? And then we also have lithium. South Africa has lithium. Namibia has got lithium. Zimbabwe has got lithium. So, and Zimbabwe is already at production levels, not to the extent that which they would love to, but already they are they're developing lithium. Graphite. If you look at graphite, firstly as a byproduct of tanzanite, so there's a lot of graphite being developed in Tanzania. Vanadium. South Africa has got vanadium. I don't want to talk about copper, because both DRC and Zambia are going high grade copper that is needed. These that I've counted are the major ones that are needed, but we've got more other critical minerals that are needed for battery manufacturing. MIASA meets twice a year, and in between the years they leave me with lots of work to actually make sure that some of the things that we discussed are actually implemented both at regional level and at country level. So we meet in February, just before mining Indaba. We meet to discuss leading practices, discuss challenges, to discuss policies. And then we also meet middle of the year. We've just had our mid-year meeting now in September, so we meet physically. What we are busy debating now, in February, we are going to come up with a resolution on, in between the two meetings, can we do virtual meetings and actually look at follow-ups and look at how far we are, both at regional level and at country level. One of our major objectives in these two, apart from sharing leading practices, we would like to see a platform like ours at ministerial level in the region. We're struggling with that. We once had a council of ministers of mines in the region, some more than 20 years ago. But now that we are formed, we ourselves are formed in the late 90s. And we have been trying hard to get the ministers to form their own forum, so that when we discuss, we don't let the ministers operate at, fragmentedly, if you like. We would like ministers to come together, whilst we as the private sector share our leading practices on how we drive mining in the region. But we would like to engage with ministers so that they can see how they share policies that will promote mining, that will promote growth in the mining industry, but engaging with the private sector on a regular basis. That is what we're trying to do. Critical Minerals Africa is very important because, one, the whole world is looking for critical minerals. We see ourselves as a major player in the region, in the provision of critical minerals for alternative energy. So one, we are here because we would like to register our presence, and we want to register our role in actually developing critical minerals. But also we would like to actually ask possible investors that could be around to create, to say there is a MIASA platform where we can engage, where we can direct them to countries that are almost ready to accept investors to grow minerals, to promote value chains. I know of projects in Tanzania, for example, graphite Tanzania, that are looking for investment in equipment for processing some of the Tanzanite byproducts. We've got dumps not ready for processing, not even to be mined. But we've got those, that country is hungry for investment in equipment and manufacturing so that we can process, and that's value addition. So that is why we are here.